Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And boy, oh boy, we have an interesting episode for you guys here today. Make sure you go and like the video and subscribe to the channel. It's been quite some time since we've done a Clippers video. We're going to be doing a lot more once the season gets started, once the Clippers are a real contender next season. But there's a lot that I want to get off my chest here with this particular topic here. So, as y'all are fully aware, there have been reports surrounding Kyrie Irving and him potentially leaving the Brooklyn Nets. Now, we're going to read a little bit of a report that we got from CBSSports.com, and then we're going to really come back and unpack this thing. So let me get into this article here. And basically, the article starts off with the headline, Kyrie Irving gives Nets a sign and trade options if no deal gets done. Kevin Durant weighing future per reports. The article continues on. Just when you thought the situation brewing in Brooklyn couldn't get any more volatile, the Nets are suddenly at risk of losing both of their remaining superstars. Star point guard Kyrie Irving has been attempting to negotiate a contract extension with the Nets for some time, but reports have indicated that the talks have reached an impasse. He has now given the Nets a list of teams he would be interested in joining via trade, according to Adrian Wojnarowski. Kevin Durant, meanwhile, is said to be monitoring the situation and considering options with his future, according to Shams. Irving's list of destination goes 6 teams deep: the Los Angeles Lakers, the Los Angeles Clippers, the New York Knicks, the Dallas Mavericks, Miami Heat, and Philadelphia 76ers. The Lakers have been viewed as the most serious threat to landing Irving, and former teammate LeBron James would seemingly relish a reunion with his former point guard. Jumping to the Knicks would allow Irving to remain in New York City. The Heat were on his list of preferred destinations, where he asked the Cleveland Cavaliers to trade for in 2017. The Sixers would offer either a reunion with James Harden, the guard who forced his way out of Brooklyn last season, and basically the article continues on and on and on and on, right? If you guys want to get more of what that article had to say, you guys can go check it out on CBSSports.com. So you heard what the article had to say here. Now, before we produce this particular show here, we actually polled our audience roughly 2.5 hours ago before, and now obviously this all depends on when you're watching this video. And the question we asked on the poll was this: should the Clippers go after Kyrie Irving? Right? And in that poll, about 4,500 people voted. Of those 4,500 people who responded to that poll, 40% of the voters said yes, that the Clippers should consider going after Kyrie Irving, and 60% said no. Right? They said no, just stay clear of him. Now, here are my thoughts on this, and I have a lot of thoughts on this. We covered the Clippers team a lot 2 years ago, and I know that team in and out right now. Like, I know pretty much all there is to know about the Clippers team, and there's a lot that I want to unpack here for the audience that will probably be interested in that. Now, the Clippers, as a basketball team, are a ball club that is comprised of big guards and forwards. That's the way Lawrence Frank and Ty Lue and these guys constructed the team, obviously with the consultation of Jerry West, right? That's how they built their team, full of guards and big small forwards. If you look at their roster, the Clippers roster is comprised of a bunch of two-way players, which is very smart basketball construction. They have players like Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Marcus Morris Sr. was my favorite Clipper, Norman Powell, who they recently acquired, which was a fantastic pickup. Terrence Mann, who's a great young player that's developing every single year, hit some very big shots for them last year in the playoffs. You saw how big he was. And Robert Covington. These are their big two-way players, right? Guys that can play the 2 or the 3. But it doesn't stop there. Because not only do the Clippers have a team that is comprised of great two-way players, a lot of these two-way players are capable of shooting in the high 30s from the three-point line, right? Players like Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Marcus Morris Sr., all of these guys can shoot close to 40% from 3. All of them. Then you have all the other players that they have that can shoot really great from the three-point line. You're talking of Terrence Mann, who's an improved three-point shooter. Obviously, you have players like Luke Kennard. You have Marcus Morris Sr., who was the number 2 in three-point shooting in the NBA 2 years ago. And I think from the corner 3, he was shooting something like 57% from the 3. So the Clippers built their team in a way where they have players that can put up a lot of points, on the offensive side of the ball, especially from the three-point line. They have shooters all over the floor. And of course, how can I forget they have another great two-way player who's currently on the market, in Nicholas Batum, who's their Swiss Army knife, who is basically what what Draymond Green is to the Warriors, except he can actually shoot. That's the only difference. Nicholas Batum can actually shoot the ball and he can actually score. That's the only difference. But he does pretty much everything for them, and he's one of the best players. And I hope that they somehow keep him, because I think he is a key ingredient to that championship puzzle, and I hope they keep him. Now, those are the players. I think the Clippers have arguably the best two-way player in basketball in Kawhi Leonard. Some people will say it's Giannis Antetokounmpo. Whatever you choose is fine. To me, that's why I said it's arguable. It could be Giannis, it could be Kawhi, whoever you want. Fine. He's if they're three players, he's one of them, right? Or two players, he's one of them. And they are a team that can switch on almost everything at every position on the court, right? They built their team that way that they can switch on everything. They also have one of the best rebounders and best rim rollers in Ivica Zubac, who is a monster when rolling to the basket, and he rolls to the basket with some cruel intentions and reckless abandon when he's rolling to the basket. Of course, you have him. They also have arguably the best coach in the NBA in Tyronn Lue, and arguably, they are the deepest team in all of basketball, right? Arguably, they're right up there, right? So that's the Clippers. And trust me, offense is not their issue. Last year, the reason the Clippers struggled on offense were for two important reasons. Number one, they were missing Kawhi Leonard, which is a big chunk of their offense. Number one. Number two, the reason you saw players like Marcus Morris and others struggle is because of the spacing that they didn't have without Kawhi Leonard. When they have Kawhi, you literally cannot cheat on anybody on the Clippers from 1 to 4. If they go to 5, you're done. You're done. If they move Marcus Morris Sr. to the 5 or Robert Covington, I don't know his three-point shooting percentages. I'm sure that they're decent. If you move these guys to the 5, you're done, man. You're done. You're done. You can't leave anybody. You can't leave anybody open on the Clippers. And that's another thing that makes that excuse me. It's another thing that makes that team so lethal. Something that the Golden State Warriors do not have, because the Golden State Warriors always have one liability on the floor, and that guy is Draymond Green, and it's the reason why you saw him get benched. Now we're talking strictly X and O's here. We're not getting into this, no diss. We're just talking basketball. So that's what you have to. That's another thing that's worth taking into consideration. The Clippers are a good team on offense, which brings me to Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving will primarily provide the Clippers offense. He's just going to be another scoring threat. However, by adding Kyrie Irving, you're also bringing in a significant basketball problem on the court, which is this. Kyrie Irving is a small, or rather an undersized 1 or 2. That's where the problem begins for the Clippers. Why? Because of the fact that Kyrie Irving is undersized, he is going to be taken advantage of by bigger guards. That is exactly what's going to happen. That is exactly what's going to happen. The primary reason Luka Doncic was so effective against the Clippers was because he could keep scoring on the Clippers' smaller guards. And in this case, those guards were either Patrick Beverley, who in that first round series ultimately became unplayable. Not because he can't play defense, simply because of his size. If Patrick Beverley is 6'5", he stays on the court, right? He's an undersized point guard. And Luka would toast and roast him. That was the reason Luka was so effective. He was able to exploit that matchup. And he was also extremely effective at, running pick and roll. They would just Rick Carlisle would just run 5 pick and rolls until they got the matchup that they wanted. And he would usually score on the Clippers point guard or their power or their center. Ivica Zubac was barbecue chicken. That was why Luka was so successful against the Clippers. And the only way Ty Lue was able to mitigate mitigate the damage that he was doing to the Clippers offense was when he took Ivica Zubac off the floor, put Marcus Morris Sr. at the 5, and decided to go small, right? And you put Marcus Morris Sr. at the 5, and they figured that if you get Marcus Morris Sr. in a switch, at least he'll be able to move his feet a little bit quicker and be able to do a better job defensively on Marcus Morris Sr., right? And then Rick Carlisle responded by going big, and putting in Boban, right, to really try to punish them with their size, right? So I know the Clippers and how that team works in and out. If you want to learn basketball, Listen to Ty Lue post-game interviews after every single game. You will learn more listening to Ty Lue than anybody talking in basketball, talking about basketball right now. Trust me. He gives a lot of gems, a lot of insight. Very, very, very sharp guy. So that's that. Now, if you listen to people talk about basketball, say, oh, no. Luka was cooking. Kawhi Leonard and the Paul George, they're too bad. People telling you that I have absolutely no idea what the hell they were talking about, and they were novices at basketball at best when we're talking about basketball. If I'm just going to be honest, they have no clue what they were talking about whatsoever. Those were guys that either, number one, didn't understand what the hell they were watching, and number two, they understood what the hell they were watching, and they were just trying to throw out an agenda. First of all, when Kawhi Leonard was the primary defender on Luka Doncic in last year's playoffs, Luka shot 42% from the field and in the low 30s, around 30%, 31% from the three-point line. Did you know that? I bet you didn't. Versus the 49% he was shooting against the Clippers as a team. I want you guys to understand the fundamental difference between Kawhi Leonard being the primary defender on Luka versus Luka scoring on the Clippers as a team. Luka was not looking for that matchup. He was not. And the only way Ty Lue was able to stop Luka or slow him down from scoring, he basically told his guards to get over those screens. And whenever he ended up on Kawhi, he was not very successful. That was the fundamental. So when people talk about, oh, he scored on, they have no idea what they're talking about. They're just trying to be silly and be funny. And they think they're funny. They don't realize that they're showing their stupidity when they're talking about basketball. So that's the way really Ty Lue and the Clippers run their ship. And that's the problem with Kyrie Irving. Yes, he's a great scorer. He's a 50, 40, 90 guy. But the problem is in the playoffs, it doesn't work like that. It's not who has the most offense on the floor. It's who has the best matchups. And the matchups you can exploit. If you have Kyrie Irving on the floor and he's going against the bigger guards like Devin Booker, Luka Doncic, guys like that, right? He's going to be the one that they're going to be seeking out on defense. And Kyrie has never been known as a defensive stalwart. He's never even made not one defensive team. If Patrick Beverley, who's made an all defensive team all first, if I'm not mistaken, defensive team could not do anything with Luka, what the hell do you think they're going to do to Kyrie Irving? And this is one of my issues with this Kyrie Irving trade. We're talking X and O's here. I don't give a damn about, oh, it's Kyrie Irving. I'm getting excited and twerking it up all over the place, right? Oh, you hear the name? That's what happened to the Lakers last year. They heard the name, Laker fans. They heard Russell Westbrook, and some fans started twerking it up all over the place. And they forgot that, wait a minute, this thing is basketball. We need to discuss the X and O's. And some people were miraculously shocked, and some people were stupidly running around talking about, oh, give it time. You're going to call him out after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 months. It went like that all the way up until the end of the season. People were still hoping and wishing that some miracle was going to happen, right? So to me, I have some serious concerns. Some people say, well, he can be a third scoring option. To me, I think Marcus Morris Sr. fills in that role way better, because if Marcus Morris Sr. is playing with spacing, if he's playing with spacing on any given night, he can give you 20 points, 18 points. That's your score. That's your third scoring option, right? I think you give up too much on the defensive side of the floor to get Kyrie Irving. That's number one. And number two, they're the variables with Kyrie. Why even deal with it? Why even deal with it? You had a roster last year that went to the Western Conference Finals without Kawhi Leonard. Why would you change that? You're going to get Kawhi Leonard back. You added some key acquisitions in Norman Powell, Robin Covington. If you can keep Nicholas Batum, I would keep the roster like that. Let Kyrie go somewhere else, right? Let me say it once more. Coming into this season, I had the Clippers and the Golden State Warriors going to the Western Conference Finals. For those of you who are here, remember that I said that, right? Obviously, Kawhi Leonard didn't come back. I thought he did. He wouldn't come back. Going into next season, I had the Clippers coming out of the Western Conference, period, end of story. That is without Kyrie. If Kyrie Irving goes to the Lakers, I still have the Clippers coming out of the Western Conference Finals, period, end of story. So that's just me. That's what I think. So what I want to know from you guys is this. What do you think about this? I have some serious reservations. Want to know what you guys think. Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comment section. Catch y'all on the next episode. Peace.